Okay, we are live. I just need to take a half a second here and put a post on the Discord. Poof. Okay, that's done. Very good. Okay, we are streaming. So this is just going to be probably an hour-long session. Ink. Today's ink day. So, so I guess I won't say too much more. I'll just sit and do my thing till a couple people show up, and then maybe I'll give a little more background about what is going on here. Okay, so one thing I need to check is this character's costuming. I need to make sure I get that correct. And if you guys heard a weird sound in the background, that would be Zuko. And by the way, hey Ross, good morning to you and good evening to Darren. And frankly, it's afternoon for me. Well, good to see you guys. I tell you, it's been a pretty productive day. I am doing a little new approach, as you can see here. Let me turn this off and this up. And as you can see, we've got literally all of episode 3 storyboarded. So we'll flip through. This is Vespar and Tobias in the tavern. So Mel, I don't remember where I was when I left off as far as the live streaming goes. So he's kind of looking around, sees the tavern, goes in, peeking around. All of a sudden, this guy crosses in front of him. Out of the way, kid. Dumps the water. Wow, crazy day today, huh? Yeah, it's a zoo. Hey, I got no time for chit-chat, kid. Either go in and order some food or beat it. Looks like you could use some help. Yeah, I could sort of use a job. Smash zoom. You got any experience? It's a flashback to when he was serving the people in Newsy. I've been serving food my entire life. All right, kid, go take care of table 7. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Move it. So he goes in. Oh, there's the table. Pulls out, zooms down, and he realizes the table is where his nemesis is sitting. Of course, Vespar doesn't know him yet. This part I really love. It's always fun when it makes you chuckle, right? So he goes over there. Can I take your order? I'm not going to reference this script, and you know, there's going to be dialogue that's slightly missing here. So this is where Tobias is like, "You look familiar. Have we met before?" No, siree. I'm just a Gripson boy doing Gripson things. Vespar's getting impatient. Well, drinks if you don't mind. And Vespar's like, today? Alright. Good day. So then the tavern keeper joins up and he says, don't be too hard on the lad. He just started today. Which of course Mel just a moment ago said that this place is like a second home to him. He's just started. Waiting tables, that is. Yeah, the boy's been cleaning toilets before today. And now he's handling food? I'm sure our incursion into Gripson's been quite a disruption. Ah, it's no trouble. Not with good help like, what'd you say your name is, kid? And he looks over and sees that. Monkey? We'll go with that. Yeah, I don't know how we get along without old Monkey. Right, kid? Bam. Which amuses Tobias. Perhaps he should stick to cleaning toilets. I guess that was the wrong voice. So meanwhile, Luca's looking in the window. Tia's like, how's it going? Let's say it's good to have a backup plan. And then this is obviously what they see. This I think I want to redraw. Probably the way I did this is punitively 3D and not even the greatest storytelling. So I'm sure I'll probably change that. And never come back. Okay, so these guys are peeking around to see what's going on. Here comes Mel. Forget food. This isn't working. Let's just get back in the boat and head for Nippur. Okay, let's do that, Luca says. Hey, come back here. So now they look, and Monkey's taking off, and Monkey has this bag. He's flopping around. What's he doing? So Monkey does a home plate slide. And he has some goodies. Okay, and then Luca Monkey's our backup plan. Okay, so fade 2. Now this is basically how the episode ends. They're out on the boat. And I don't think I'm going to belabor the dialogue here. There's basically a bit of a tense moment between Mel and Tianara. And Luca sees things starting to elevate a bit. Guys, we can do this. You guys get the idea on that sort of thing. So anyway, that's basically it. So who is Menachem? What is Golek's endgame? What happened to Asher? And will the kids stick together as a team, or will infighting ruin them? All this and more in the next episode. So that's where we're at. I'll take a moment here to, for those who are interested, well, we got 5 people here, so I'm going to show you this. I just thought this was kind of fun and interesting, so let me save this. I was doing an experiment with the time offset modifier, and just suffice to say this, by taking this action, so I've got this kind of samurai cartoon guy who swings his sword, and then I've got these background things flying around in the background, sort of anime style, and then I put in some plants in the foreground, kind of waving in the wind kind of thing. And so just suffice to say that by judiciously adding time offset modifiers to different layers, it's pretty cool, man. You know, really easy to get that sort of anime thing happening, and using different elements to loop in the background. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. If anybody's interested more in the time offset modifier for any reason, feel free to ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. So now what we're kind of experimenting with here is, by working from a storyboard, am I going to be able to accelerate the process? It's looking pretty optimistic so far. Let me turn this back down. One reason is things like this. Like here we've got this one character that has a close-up. And with the storyboard in place and not forcing myself to only move forward, what I was able to do is draw this guy, make sure he looks the way I want him to, and then just copy the strokes back to this frame, shrink it down, and, you know, rock and roll. Everything looks fine. So things like that are proving to be quite useful. So that kind of brings everybody up to speed, frankly. So what I'm actually doing in this session is really just inking and trying to basically ink meticulously the stuff that really matters a lot, which is basically people's faces for the most part. You know, things like arms and, you know, it's pretty quick and easy, you know, there's like nothing to it. Honestly, I'm actually wondering, yep, I'm going to make this guy a hunchback, actually. Not for any other reason than it just feels like he should be. So, and again, I'm getting a lot of leverage out of stuff like this. grab these guys, select length, Control C, go to the next frame, Control V, stuff like that. Another thing that's proven quite useful is when I'm doing editing, I don't like, well, like if I want to sculpt this, let's say, okay, I didn't mean to do that. I just hit extrude the way I've done a million times. Okay, if I want to sculpt this, this has proven to be quite useful because from within sculpt mode, you can actually extend, like you can use select lasso from inside sculpt mode to really be specific about what you want to grab. Probably a better example would be, let me hit another hotkey I've learned is if you're in lasso mode, you can hit W and toggle through these selection modes. So if the proportional editing is set to connected only, then it makes it really easy to do things like grab this and reposition it. Find maybe lines that aren't closed. I don't really see any here, but where you might want to just make small adjustments and, you know, pretty quick and easy. So let's see here. Trying to get used to this as well. The shift spacebar to just toggle between these modes. And of course here, nothing's happening because it's only going to affect this right here. So that needs to be turned off. And then poof, you just make a quick adjustment, right? Something like that. Okay, you get the idea. So anyway, keep rocking here. As you can see here, I deliberately left the character's mouth off. When this goes to lip sync, it'll be this style, like anime style, and all inside the mouth. So there's no compelling reason to bother drawing his mouth at this point. Okay, so is it unenlightened of me to make this guy a hunchback? I mean, I have to admit that the only reason it occurred to me to do so literally is because of the way he looks, which is kind of an unenlightened decision. Okay. I don't know if that's good or bad. I just don't know. I mean, think about it. Okay, I don't want to do that. But that's kind of sick, you know, basically saying, yeah, because of the way his face looks, I would assume he's a hunchback. I mean, come on. It's kind of evil, isn't it? Well, you guys can weigh in if you want to. Okay, so the basic issue here is I'm not clear on his costuming, so I think I need to, let me turn this off and go forward. I don't think we see him in a full body situation. Yeah, until here, so let's just see. I just don't remember what I did costuming wise. Oh, yes. Okay, so he's kind of actually, he's got like not a tank top, but a sleeveless kind of deal. And he actually has the armband thing going on. So, okay. That's pretty much what I needed to know. Poof, poof, poof. Oh yeah, turn this back on. Okay, so this would be, and he's actually a fairly buff dude. I think if you're running a tavern and you're dealing with all the kinds of people that frequent a tavern back in the day, maybe you do need to be a fairly you know, rugged individual. Okay, so here's a good example of what I was talking about before. To be able to grab this and adjust it without it affecting the shoulder, that's where obviously you could do it with sculpting, or you can do it with proportional editing in you know, proportional editing tool in edit mode. You can do it either way, but these sorts of things, it's just so quick and easy to fix them. It's kind of blowing my mind. What I really wanted to do here actually is probably pop this up, something like that, but now we've got a tangent that's not really acceptable. So let's go to draw mode. Let's just erase this and redo it. So that goes like that, but see, what I wanted to do is get the garment into the shot, right? So cool. I don't want to get into too much detail. We're not doing Savage Sword of Conan here. Okay, E, smooth mode. Yep, that'll work. I got him probably a little too buff. Boom. Make sure that's closed. And then he's just got his hand in the edge of the window. Whoops. Let's zoom way in and actually fix that. That'll work. Cool, so what's going on in the chat? Anything? I think he looks good. It's possibly not very modern to do so, but I think it suits him. He's a funny character. I hope you can bring him back in future episodes. Yeah, that was kind of the idea. So I need to hit Shift Space Bar. Again, I'm trying to make this second nature, where I don't really have to think about it. It's getting better, I will tell you. The last 2 weeks have been wonderful in the sense that it's starting to become second nature. It's a throwback to, golly, it's a throwback to 20 years ago when I was quite the Blender guru. Oops. I was a Blender guru back in the day. Okay, and it's not like the audience is going to be thinking too much about this, but we don't want it to be overly sloppy, right? So there we go. Just doing that so it can fill. All right, and I don't like it. So this is actually a good example of, I'm going to go back to the sketch, turn the strength modulation back on. I'm actually just going to switch back to pencil test, and I want to work this out. So kill that. Yeah, he needs to be standing more straight up, like that. So this is the other part of the process that's been getting better, where I find myself, hey Inio-san, by the way, hello, thinking forward and back, actually, about whenever there's something that is incomplete, like this not being drawn, that often would not be a problem, right? At the inking stage, I can just do it. But I just did it a moment ago, didn't I? And just wasn't quite where it needed to be. Okay, for what it's worth, on the ink side, what I've been doing on this sequence is I'm just using my pencil. The only thing I'm changing is I'm turning the strength off so that it's always solid black. If the strength is on, then you get this, which is not going to work for ink. But it's the same exact brush I'm using for the pencil test. So I'm like, well, if it works, then let's use it. Don't need to fuss over which brush to use for inking. As long as we get good clean lines, we're in business. Okay. All right. All right, let's keep rocking. No, that's one line too many. Like I said, this is not Conan. Okay, question, Dave. Is this the first time we see him up close? Didn't we have a... I mean, we've got that. Let's rock and roll with it and see how far it gets us. Let's... Whoopsie. Sorry. I'm not in lasso mode. WWW. Okay. So what I'm wanting to do is Control C, right here. So Control V, rotate. Okay, so now this was reversed. That's why I wondered if I had brought this in from an earlier frame, because his hair is parted the wrong way. So obviously this pose is hardly definitive, so if I want to make, you know, it a little different, of course that's okay, as long as we don't lose the character. Okay, these guys need to be cut off the screen so they can fill, and we'll probably call that his neck and call that his garment. Now this should probably be something like that. Again, close the shapes. Cool. And so now here, let's just keep this as simple as possible. Yep, there we go. So the funny actually thing about this character is the only time we see him in this episode is this little bit right here. And what he does is the boss is like, make sure, and he jumps in and says, I'll make sure we're stocked with ingredients. So despite the fact that we're somewhat having probably more fun than strictly necessary with the guy's look, the fact is he's actually an employee who's quite on the ball. Okay, so anyway, for what that's worth, go here. Okay, go into edit mode, grab everything, rotate it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's SX -1. Okay, yeah, cool. I actually should have been looking at this. I should have been looking at this mirrored, because this does not look great. Okay, back into draw mode. Yep, and so now what we got to do is a bunch of cleanup. Let's see if we can clean this up in the most efficient way possible, which would be this. Grab all this stuff, hit L, select linked, X, get rid of the points. Feels like the sketch layer is still a little hot. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. D, E. Oops. Just closing these shapes. Here you can go Control plus 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 plus, and then hit the X key. Get rid of those erroneous points. Grab the last one, and then line it up. So that's a good example of, well, wouldn't it actually be faster just to redraw it? And in many cases it absolutely would. But what I am finding is that as you do get those hotkeys down, those type of editing operations actually are very, very quick. Alright, so now we got to deal with this guy's hair, which is simply, I think I want to do this. Something like that would be okay. And then his mouth's going to be kind of that type of thing. Looks like we might have an erroneous mark there. Okay. That's pretty much the end of this sequence, it looks like. So what do we have here? Let's just draw a dot and see what we have. Okay, establishing shot. Are the kids going to be in silhouette? Probably. So now we go here. could just... What we have is 3 frames, so they're going to move down and then up, but get a little bit bigger each time. So it looks like they're approaching the camera. Whatever. Okay. If you've already... Peter Lorre style, yeah.
Well, think about what is Peter Lorre? Peter Lorre is kind of this sort of a thing. I can't remember. I need to go back and watch
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He had a good role in that movie. And, yeah, Peter Lorre.
Of course, if you're going to really exaggerate it, then you wind up with something like this.
That we used to see, not infrequently, in Saturday morning cartoons, like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Okay, these ladies can probably be... I don't know if I need to do... something like that. Now that says to me that this is a little bit off. You know, it might be another example where making sure you have enough detail in the pencil test. It's surprising how often I bump into that, where if I... Well, what happens is if I have to essentially create finished art at the inking stage, I tend to get sloppy really quick. So, just saying. Okay, this is probably a good example of that. Poof, poof, poof. Why was I just in the fills layer? Looks like that was an erroneous bit of glitch. Okay, guys, so everybody in the peanut gallery, it's time to speak up. What should this guy look like? Presumably he's either their father or uncle or older brother. Could be a lot of things. All right, so what do we do with him? How are we going to make this guy look? Borrowed for the maggot in the course. Yeah, I mean, Peter Lorre, and I should say, not just Peter Lorre, but caricatures of Peter Lorre. I mean, what you saw happening in cartoons in the 70s was basically a caricature of a caricature. Because if you watch an old 1940s movie or whatever and really listen to Peter Lorre,
It's not nearly as extreme as what they turned it into in cartoons.
like that's like royally exaggerated. Yeah, he did not really sound like that at all. But it became a thing. Okay, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do, guys? I guess we'll go with kind of a John Goodman type of head. And I suppose if these girls are wearing hijabs, then probably this guy's wearing a turban of some kind, which might be, yeah, something like that might be okay. And probably he would have a beard. I mean, actually, it probably would be a longer beard. There you go. There you go. Something like that. Okay, would this actually be even bigger? No, definitely not. That did not feel right. So we don't have to kill ourselves on the details here too much. There's only 3 frames of them walking. But that'll probably be okay. Something like that. Alright, so let's jump to the lines. Well, I'm sorry, let's turn this down. Jump back to here. Turn off the strength sensitivity. Oops, wrong material. Now, one could certainly argue that there's not that good of a reason to have... There's really no reason why the pencil test needs to be in a different color. I've just been doing it that way for quite a long time, and let me pull out and see if that's... I was just thinking about the line thickness. Everything looks pretty good, actually, so we don't want to be in smooth mode. Well, actually, we do want to be in smooth mode for that, but... Cool? I think so. Okay, so now we're going to do the old cheat, which is grab this, hit L, select linked, alright, and then Shift D, SX -1, boom. Well, that was pretty quick, wasn't it? That's what we're looking for, friends. We're looking for more and more opportunities to get those efficiencies, but yet keep the quality up, you know. That's what we're trying to do. This is kind of probably a little hint of that. Boom. Boom. That's kind of weird, but let's just see if we can correct it. I'm gonna grab this. Okay, we're not quite there. Shift. And we're still not quite there. Just got to grab bits of these so I can get all of it. So SX -1, his head is a little off kilter here. Hitting Shift. When you hit Shift, you can really dial in your adjustments. So if I didn't hit Shift, I hit the G button and it stays right with the mouse. But if I hit Shift, then, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. But then you can, you know, fine tune it. Quite useful indeed. Here we'll use that same trick I showed earlier, which is Control plus, which just grabs the vertices. Okay, I want to make this pretty close to what it's going to be, because these drawings are going to be reused. Okay, so this is a good example of what I was talking about. Honestly, there's no point drawing these 2 frames, because what we're going to wind up doing is putting in the color in this frame, and then we'll just add the walking adjustment, you know, make them a little bigger, one down, one up, you know. So there's no point drawing the rest of it. Okay, cool. So let's just jump forward and deal with Tia. Nothing going on in the chat. It must be that this is so mesmerizing that everyone is struck speechless. As you can see, her bindi is kind of in the wrong place there. Another thing I've been finding myself doing a lot is I'll start a line and then I'll hit shift and just engage the smoothing. DE, boom, boom, and you can always add a little more if that floats your boat. Back to the D key. Okay. Okay, and then that's going to kind of go like that. This would be, well, what it would be is something like this, and then you got that turtleneck thing going on. So probably something like that would do the trick. So these can all just be filled in. I know it's a little obnoxious, but there it is, friends. Okay, so what do we have here? I'm going to hit click. Okay, so now we're around to the front view. Okay, how can we cheat? Well, I see one way we can cheat, maybe, which is here. Yep. Yeah, here's another example of kind of some of the things I've been talking about. In this case, he's saluting, but I figured I'm probably going to want at least one frame of lead in to show his hand moving. So what I did was I drew the hand first and then moved it out of the way so that later when we add the color I can just go ahead and animate the hand without having to fight with the overlapping lines. Anyway, here, let's, I guess as long as we're here, let's make one little adjustment to this, because that's definitely a little off balance. D key, I'm sorry, tab key, Control C, let's go forward here, Control V, shrink it down, go. You guys feeling it? Are you getting what I'm talking about here? This is why I'm liking the storyboard thing, because I can go forward and see ahead what I'm gonna need later, and I mean this is kind of crazy if you think about it. We've got this entire sequence. We're already into the second sequence, and yeah, I'm just doing what's hard. I'm doing the hard stuff first, right? Let's see here. Well, I'm a man on a mission, you know. I'm really pretty determined to figure out if it's freaking possible for one mediocre animator like myself to actually crank out an episode in a month. I know it's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's insane. But you know what? I think it's possible. It might not be, but I think it might be. Okay, that sucked, didn't it? I guess I'll just do it this way. Boop, beep. Okay. Ba-doop-boo. Well, that would be cool, man, if I could crank out an episode in a month. The only way it's going to happen is if I have really pretty intelligent workflow. So that's really what the last few weeks has been about, is figuring out what that workflow would have to be. Okay. By the way, I have said for a long time, even from way back when I first started doing animation here on YouTube, I've used this term that I made up. Work from the known to the unknown. Right? There's stuff you don't yet know the problem, how you're going to solve it, kind of thing. But what you do, in this case, it's going to be this. What's the known here is his hand. We know his hand needs to be holding this piece of paper. And so that will elucidate where other parts of his body sort of need to be in order to make this work. Anyway, I just found out 2 days ago that this term that I thought I invented, work from the known to the unknown, guess who actually said it first? And he said it almost exactly the same way. I'll give you a hint. It was about 500 years ago, maybe? I was shocked, but kind of pleasantly surprised to find that it must not be the dumbest idea I ever had, because the other guy that had the same idea is a pretty well-respected luminary in the world of art. And I can't remember exactly how he said it. It wasn't work from the known to the unknown. It was more verbose. It was like, you know, do what you're certain of, and, you know, the unknown things will be revealed to you, or something like that. Anybody want to guess who it was? Nobody's guessing. Okay. It was Rembrandt. Work from the known to the unknown. Did you know that, Valerie? I've been saying this for years. Work from the known to... I thought I sort of figured it out. No. Rembrandt came up with it like 600 freaking years ago. Yes. Well, the level of arrogance that would lead me to think I invented that is obviously off the chart anyway, so. Should we try to have a little bit of fun with this wanted poster? I don't think so. I don't think we want to go too far in that direction. But yeah, this is obviously slightly ridiculous, the whole idea that they're showing a drawing as if people are going to go, oh yeah, I recognize, I just saw her over at the tavern. Obviously, that's ludicrous. However, it serves our story, and so we're going to go with it. So technically, you downloaded that in your brain from the unknown. Well, yeah, maybe from the collective consciousness, because, you know, we all know that we're all part of the collective consciousness, right? Actually, you know, it's funny that comes up, because one of the things I've put it this way, I've specifically avoided, since I've been live streaming again last couple months, getting into too much touting of my own philosophy. I've said a few things, you know, you live what you think, you are what you do what you did. To me, those three pretty much explain most of the human lived experience. However, people actually stay around and listen more. Let's put it this way. If I do what I've often done, which is basically waste the whole live stream ranting, people have a limited tolerance for that, you know, which I don't blame them. I mean, to me, it's like, that's why I quit live streaming there for, well, it only wound up being a couple days, but I needed a break. And that was when, you know, so good came out of it, because that was when I said, all right, finally, after all these years, and probably Amar was saying the same thing. He's saying, finally, I finally made the command decision, come hell or high water, I'm going to reacquaint myself with Blender in detail and just freaking figure it out. Okay, so now what we have, let me just look at this. We do have a mistake, actually, because this guy, I had, it turned out, already drawn him, and I drew him differently. However, that's okay. Let's just go into edit mode, select all these strokes, size them up slightly. GX means go on the x-axis. Pooh. I don't need to draw this because that's just, it's not necessarily a silhouette, but it's all in the foreground. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep rocking and rolling on this leverage thing as best we can. So let's copy Tia from here to here. And basically, here's what we want to do. I'm going to go into edit mode. And let's rotate this. Move it down a bit. Grab this. L key, select linked. Go like that. This, frankly, I think the thing to do would be go into this mode and have smoothing applied, but only to that, right? Now this is the other thing I said. From sculpting mode, you can actually hit Shift Spacebar and switch modes from here. Whoopsie, didn't want to catch part of her iris. So switch back to smooth, and now because of this little guy right here, we can smooth just that, and even kind of do that. And now I'm going to turn that off. Well, actually, that's a bad idea. I should go like this. In practice, I will say that I find it's actually faster and more reliable to just hit the tab key and jump into edit mode rather than changing selections from within sculpt mode. But you can do it either way. It all works. Okay, so now this is kind of bugging me. It looks so stupid that I think I want to, even though it doesn't matter and it's off screen, it's just bugging me to have to look at something that looks so dumb. So I'm going to just go ahead and make it a little more actually appropriate to. This is where, see, I'm having to go like this, and I don't want to. That's where you hit the W key, and you just toggle between the modes. So basically, I wish there were only two modes, actually. Tweak and lasso. Tweak means I can go click and go. I can just click and immediately be in motion. Like that. I don't have to click and then hit the G key or whatever. So this is quite nice. But there's a lot of situations, WWW, where you want to be able to grab a cluster of them, right? So anyway. Okay, so she is kind of curious. I'm not going to do that same change over here. Like I said, all I'm focused on right now is whatever's hard. Okay, okay. I am not, well, let me see. Let's hit the D key and put in a keyframe, just so there is a blank keyframe. Okay. Is this the first time we see that? Meaning a frontal view of the three kids. Yep. Yep. So we'll just go ahead and draw these guys. Control space bar, goes into full screen mode. Makes it a little easier to have control over what I'm doing. Okay, that may require a little adjustment. Poof. Not bad. D key, E key. I want to be in smooth mode. Just want to smooth this a bit. Grab. Okay, sorry. We got that on. Didn't mean to do that. That's better. All right, front view, just so I can flip the canvas. Okay, so this would be another example of, do we want to cheat and go Shift D, SX negative 1, rotate that, and then just push it into place. Possibly slightly smaller. But yeah, my hope is that before long, I will have so many nicely inked grease pencil objects with these characters that I'll be able to pull from previous work like a lot more even than I do. I mean, I do it a lot, obviously, but okay, back to here. Yes. Isn't that cool? I like it muy mucho. Nice. Okay. Again, we need to cover this up. Or I should say. Well, okay, let's just do it this way. Go. And whoops. I got too much proportional editing tool going down there. Friends, far too much. Okay, so do we want to try to steal a little bit of TNR from another shot? Why not? Let's do this. Let's grab, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Go into edit mode. Let's grab, I don't want to grab too much of the hair. Select linked, yep, that'll work. Control C, forward, forward, forward. Control V. You guys are starting to see it, aren't you? You're starting to feel what I'm talking about, leverage. Why do it twice if you don't strictly have to? The thing I was concerned about was kind of a throwback to Blender 279, where if you render it and you do the resizing, the thickness would be all boogered up, but they seem to have really figured that out kind of a long time ago. So Melchizedek, do we have anything? It's kind of silly that I wouldn't know this. But and by the way, there's the, in case anybody was wondering what's going to happen with the cabbage dude. Boom, boom, boom. There he is. Now you'll notice he's not drawn here. That's because I wanted to draw this first. Actually, let's just do this right now. As long as we're here, it's got to be done sooner or later. I'm going to grab all of this. Select linked, obviously leaving off this block line. Control C, go back one frame. Control V, size them down, back to here, and there he is. Okay, and we can fill in his arms later. So it looks like we don't have a straight-on Melchizedek in this episode yet. So I'm going to go to the front view. That lets me, I can use grease pencil tools to rotate the screen, and then by hitting 1 it'll go right back to I'm gonna mirror this as well. As long as we're cheating, let's cheat liberally and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Boom, boom, L, Shift D, SX -1, go. Whoops. Okay. Let me think about why that just happened. Must have had too much space between the two vertices. So, this might be a fun opportunity to dive into some things about vertex editing. For one thing, I can grab this, and here in the strokes, we can subdivide it. I don't have a hotkey for that right now. It used to be W back in the day, I believe. Okay, and then that allows me to now make this little adjustment of the curvature, select the whole thing, move it back down to where it's supposed to be. This one, we can just get rid of the stroke, grab this one, L key, duplicate it. There we go. Okay, and by the way, there's another tool here in Blender, guys, that you might want to be aware of. It works better than I thought it would, but it's this. It's in draw mode. It's the cutter tool. I don't use it much, but looky, looky, looky what it does. And it actually does a pretty freaking good job of it, I must say. So, don't use the cutter tool very often, but when it's makes sense to do so, it's somewhat indispensable. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's overstating it. It's hardly indispensable, but it's definitely useful. Boop 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 boom. SX negative. I'm not even looking at the screen right now. That's what I'm trying to practice. Get this to be second nature. And just pop that in there. Go. G key. Yep. Okay. What time is it? 3. Oh my gosh, it's after 3 o'clock. Okay. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up. I was planning on doing about an hour, and we're getting close to that, I believe. What is it? Yeah, 57 minutes. So SX means scale on the x-axis. And I do want to actually introduce a bit of variance into this. I don't want it to be totally symmetrical. And I would say, based on what I'm seeing here, her head seems a bit large. Okay, back to the camera. And I'm going to come back and deal with this later, I think. Yeah, right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to make, well, just keep in mind, here's the deal. If I go ahead and draw this drawing of Tia, okay, boom. So we'll put that in here. I probably could steal it from earlier, obviously. What would actually happen in practice is we would have the big version of this, which could or could not be stolen from an earlier shot. But what would happen is I would actually size this up in order, and then probably actually have 3 frames where she squats she probably blinks and her head squeaks down a little bit in order for her to go from this to this. So she basically changes direction. I don't want to, I mean, I know what I'm going to do, so there's no point ripple editing all of these keyframes just to put that in there, because I know how to do it, and I've done it a million times, so I know what I'm going to do, so there's no reason to, be in too big of a hurry. Okay, that could not possibly be worse, really. Okay, maybe I'm being a little hard on myself there. Alright, I'm just going to run with this for the moment, just because I want to see how it looks. Boom. Oh, really? Okay, SX -1. Rotate that. I just want to see, because this was drawn fairly small, right? How bad it's no good. No good. Don't like it. Not good enough. Not good enough, friends. This is a money shot, really. Not from an animation standpoint, but from a rendering standpoint. Meaning, the camera's going to be on her for a bit, so let's make sure she looks pretty good, you know. Bendy. Don't get eager and put in the lip sync. There's no reason to. We're going to be doing lip sync later. But yeah, no, let's just give her a little bit of, you know. So nobody's saying too much in the chat today. I know you guys are all waiting with bated breath for when something's going to go technically wrong and Dave's going to start ranting. Okay, that I don't like. Poof, poop, 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 poop. Okay, tab, let's go up. Yeah, that might work. Go. Something like that, as we say. As they say in Decatur, Indiana, where I lived for 10 years. Nobody says the word that, they say at. Yeah, like at. I know that's sloppy as hell, but it doesn't matter because it's all off screen. Okay, and that's got to be closed. Okay, I'm going to turn this off for a moment. Okay, that's it. That's it for now. You guys, I'm out of here. It's almost time for us to watch that show I recommended to you guys the other day. DE. Shrink that down. Let's actually do it this way. Let's flip it. Yeah. Always flip your canvas, guys. I know I don't do it as much as I should, but I totally recommend you flip your canvas. Just see, and then of course we can always smooth this a bit as well. Save our work. So we're rocking. And by the way, episode 4 is not written, but it is plotted as of today. I've got the plot for episode 4 all blocked in, so the scripting part should be pretty easy. Once I know what's supposed to happen, the dialogue and coming up with little funny bits and stuff is usually pretty simple. So, well, this is what I was saying earlier, by the way. The reason I want to make sure this shot's happening is that we're coming back to it there. We're coming back to Tia there. We're coming back to Tia again there, right? The expressions change a little bit, but basically there's a lot of reuse going on. So, okay, that's it for me. Thanks for hanging out. You fairly quiet people. And I will catch you on the flip side. As you guys know, there will be more later.